and you have your deck listed right in front of you, because I can always edit this video down to exclude this bit. All right.
Gotcha. I have my deck list right there in front of me.
The original deck list that you sent me from when we were
I have
playing.
both. Yes, I have the original and the newest one.
All right. Awesome. All right. Yo, what's good, YouTube? I got my boy Braden Henry here with his Adagnister MathMech deck. So, my guy, if you want to go over the card by card, letting us know what you were doing that night with piloting this deck and go over your deck profile with me.
Absolutely. I would like to start by thanking you for having me. I'm Braden. I played MathMech Ignisters. I believe I went 3-1 that day, almost top. Thank you, Lyle, for striking me down to my prime. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
So we're going to do a quick little card by card. I have one copy of Doyon, pretty standard, one Baruru, one Doyon, three Chi-Chi, and three Picari. Those are just pretty standard Adagnister ratios. One Picari and one Chi-Chi are just full combo, so they're really, really good cards to have in your hand. To get to the Adagnister spell traps, I was on 3 I Meet You, which is the searcher for the deck, one Fighting Spirit, and one Idle Reborn. They're just two Reborns in the deck, but they are bricks. They don't really do anything pretty much past, like, if I draw into my starting hand, I don't want to draw them in multiples. They're good to have, but I don't want to see them in multiples. And one copy of Eye Contact. Due to something that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, I have a lot of ways to get to the field spell, and Idle Contact says draw 3 cards, which, unbeknownst to a lot of people, drawing cards are actually pretty good. 3 copies of Ignister Island. It is the end-all be-all of the deck. If you do not get to this card, you will just lose on the spot. So trying to get to that is very important. And 1 copy of Terraforming and 1 copy of Set Rotation to get to that Ignister Island. And then here's the Goo, something that I believe raises the skill ceiling of this deck extremely heavily, which is going to be the new MathMech cards. MathMech Circular is a 1-card, pretty much name it, 1-card, 4K arrival, gets you to your Adagnister stuff, gets you an Omni Negate on board. It just does so much for the deck and raises the skill ceiling. Circular can bait out hand traps, extend past hand traps, break boards. He does everything you want him to do, and he pluses to infinity. And here we go. The next MathMech card is we're going to have Sigma. I mean, he's nothing unique. If you're going to be playing MathMech, you play Sigma. 1 copy of Addition. This card can be either 1 copy of Addition or 1 copy of Subtraction. At the absolute worst he's an extender for the deck, and at the absolute best, he's an extra material for Laplacian or Albertian, which are the MathMech Xyz monsters. And 1 copy of Diameter. Some people are dropping Diameter for something like an additional Subtraction or an Addition. People see him as a brick because he doesn't summon himself, and if you do hard draw him, he can be not the greatest feeling card in the world, but he's still usable. I like him because he is a piece in the Super Factorial combo, which gets you an Omni Negate and basically Trishula during your opponent's turn. I heavily enjoy the card, and he's a tuner, so he's searchable off Cyber's Wicked, or he can basically revive any Cybers from grave, do anything you want. He's a very good card, even if you just draw him. To connect the two, we have 3 copies of Signet Minings, which searches anything in the deck, which is 99% of the time either going to be a copy of a Chi-Chi or a Circular. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. I think Droplet is one of the greatest cards in the game. Going first, going second, doesn't matter. I think this card is absolutely insane. I have 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I believe it is an amazing going first card if you get hand trapped, or an even better going second card if you can just do anything. I think the card is an absolute house, and it could win the game all on its own. 1 copy Super Factorial to tie the MathMech engine together, which gets you Trishula during your opponent's turn, and 2 copies of Mystic Mine. So this is... How do I put this? I don't agree with this card. I do not like Mystic Mine. I think it needs to be banned. However, if you sit on a 4,000 unaffected Arrival Cybers and you slap down Mystic Mine, your opponent has to try to out this 4,000 a 4,000 unaffected monster with only getting maybe 1 monster effect to try to do that. I think Mystic Mine it does a ton for this deck that doesn't set up a lot of interruptions. It's basically, can you get rid of this guy? And Mystic Mine makes it significantly harder to get rid of my guy. And the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Dark Infant. I think you definitely need to. It's follow-up, searching another field spell. It's just a free search every turn, which you can, again, later put back with AI Contact. But 3 copies of Dark Infant definitely bricks you up, and their extra deck is sort of tight. There's only 1 or 2 flex spots, I'd like to say. Cyber's Wicked is pretty imperative to the combo. It searches you either Baruru or a Diameter. We have 2 copies of Splash Mage. It is part of combo as well as follow up. This is also an OTK inhibitor, and it's really, really good for the deck. And again, 3, it breaks up your extra deck, and at 1, it's just not enough. You won't have follow up. 1 copy of Dark Templar. I don't go into Dark Templar every game, but he's a very, very good piece to have in the deck. If you get hand trapped a few times or your board's starting to get broken, you can go into him and then get a 4K arrival very easily. 1 copy of Decode Talker Heat Soul. You can reveal him in the extra deck with I Meet You in order to search a Chi-Chi, and when times are tough, you can end on him and a 4K arrival. And drawing 2 every turn is pretty sick. 1 copy of Transcode Talker. It basically helps you make a rival and Access Code Talker on the follow-up. Access Code Talker for going for game. Typically gets up to 5,300 attack, which is really, really good. And I hear that it even can clear a board, and pretty much any link monster you run, they're all going to be different attributes. So usually this can pop about 4 cards when you're trying to go for game. The myth, the man, the legend himself, the Arrival Cybers. I don't really think he doesn't really need any introduction. He's the end all be all of the deck. You try to get him to about 4,000 or 5,000, and then just see what you can do. Take me down. Prime MathMech Albert and Laplacian. Albert is basically how you search things in the deck. It gets you follow up. It can clear boards. It does everything. And at the absolute worst, if you Xyz summon him with 3 monsters, you can then search a copy of Bakari, and then go full combo, which I think is really, really funny. Laplacian, in order to basically Trishula your opponent's entire board, or going... Sorry, if you go first, you can make Laplacian, and then wipe their board as they're trying to build it. Or going second, you don't really go into him as often, but this is one of the flex spots I was talking about.
All right.
You can run him, or you could not run him and then run something... that's going to sound stupid. You can not run him and run something else, and then you tag out Superfactorial for something else. Because either way, the MathMech cards add so much to this deck. It adds so much extension, so much just powering through hand traps. It makes it like, oh man, you Ash Blossom my Dark Infant, and now I just lose. But people have been tagging out back and forth with the MathMech stuff between not playing Superfactorial and not playing Laplacian, or playing Superfactorial and playing Laplacian. I think going first, Superfactorial can win the game all on its own. It stops a lot of decks in its tracks. It has a hand rip effect. It can non-target send a monster, non-target send a spell trap. It just does so much. And I run 1 copy of Light Dreadnought Ignister. This is another card that can be kind of seen as a flex spot. I personally like to run it because then that means you can reveal it off of I Meet You in order to search Bakari. And I would never cut it simply because of that fact. 1 copy of When Pegasus at Ignister, a very, very good board breaking card. It can just non-target pop typically about 3 spell traps. It comes up. And if one of your cards is destroyed, it also does things in the grave. It can then shuffle back. So it's follow-up, board breaking. I think it's a very insane card. And this is probably my personal goo. That is a card that I tag out back and forth. I go back and forth between this and, Update Jammer. That's his name. I tag out between this guy and Update Jammer because they both help you go for game. But I really, really like this card. I think he's insane. So any questions so far?
Yes, with the you were talking about the Adagnister and the Update Jammer? Like, because there's
Yes.
Quantum Cybers Dragon in your extra deck as well?
Yes.
Um,
So
go ahead.
I go back and forth between Cyber's Quantum Dragon and Update Jammer. I think Update Jammer adds a ton to this deck, and I'm not bagging on Update Jammer at all, but I just think Cyber's Quantum Dragon's cooler, for lack of a better word, and it outs things that Update Jammer doesn't.
Okay.
I think it's a very insane card.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions from the comments. Why no Update Jammer?
Absolutely, and I can understand it. I like Cyber's Quantum Dragon. I guess I'm kind of a nerd. I think he's a very cool monster. He adds board presence. He protects your entire board from targeting. And again, he can also help go for game, much like Update Jammer. He's more situational than an Update Jammer. But overall, I like him. And again, I go back and forth. If you want to build this exact list, you could tag out Cyber's Quantum for Update Jammer if you wanted to. But I definitely like Cyber's Quantum Dragon, but I might go back this format to an Update Jammer just because he does so much for the deck. I agree.
Okay. And now to go ahead and dive into the sideboard of 3 weeks ago when we played?
Yes. So we were in a sort of different format than we were now. I had it was 3 copies of Evenly, 3 D barriers, 1 copy of Red Reboot, a Cosmic, a Harpy's Feather Duster, a MathMech Equation for going second, and 3 copies of Droll and 2 copies of Token Collector. We were in a different format. So my reasoning behind my sideboard was 2 copies of Token Collector. Obviously, I hear it's pretty good against Sword Soul or even the Adventure Engine at the moment. And 3 copies of Droll kept a lot of decks in check. The 2 main decks that I was terrified of is typically Despia and Sword Soul, which is what I was facing majority of the time. Despia has so much ways to search follow-up, just grab cards, just to grab cards. For instance, Allure Darkness, Edge Imp Chain, Aluber the Boober of Doober. They do so much searching, and I think Droll really keeps those decks in check. However, those do significantly less this format when you're going to be facing Tear Lament and Sprites, which maybe do their one search and then the rest of it's just special summoning straight from the deck. So there are several cards that I'm going to change in my side, and that I plan on changing. But this is a
Alrighty.
different format. This is a different time.
Which tomorrow, since I'll see you at locals, we can go ahead and do another deck profile if you'd like.
I will try. I might not be on this deck. I might be on some different spice, but I might bring it just in case.
Alrighty,
Definitely
man.
do a deck profile with you though. I'll definitely.
Understandable. That'd be freaking awesome. Was there anything that was lackluster in your sideboard during that local event?
I did not face Sword Soul a single time, so I had two two cards that were absolutely dead. But overall, I was very happy with my choices. Going second, tagging out Superfactorial for an equation. It's fun. It's really good. Now you don't have this useless trap, and now you have a Monster Reborn. I think it's really, really good.
Okay.
Overall, I did not use evenly once. That was kind of sad, but I didn't draw it, so I just got to be a better player.
Understandable, understandable. And just because we have time, you've already answered this for me, but we'll go ahead and just go into it. Why didn't you search the
Absolutely.
Zoyan with the Chi-Chi and go full combo? Just so you can explain to the comment section.
Gotcha. So in the moment, I could have searched Doyon with the Chi-Chi in order to go full combo, but I went for the more, I would say, greedier play. Doyon offers a ton of follow-up. But at the moment, I was trying to search Bakari or I was trying to search Bururu, and with that, in that moment, I thought searching Bururu was the number one objective because I either search him now or I search him with Cyber Wicked. And the reason I did not search Doyon was because I said in my head, if I search Bururu right now, then I don't have to search him later, which means later I can search Diameter, which then got me a negate later on in that turn, or it sets up a negate in Grave with Superfactorial. I could search Doyon and I could have infinite follow-up. I could have 4 cards in hand when I end my turn, and that's cool. But I chose to go the more greedy route, which is don't waste any of my searches. But would searching Doyon in that exact situation would have worked? Yes. Do I think searching Bururu was better in that situation? Also yes. But to each their own.
Understandable. Well, thank you, my guy. And this is the deck profile you've all been asking for. And thank you, Braden Henry, for being able to do this tech profile with me.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Yep. All right. Peace.